If you just joined us on the System After Dark, this is a homegrown number courtesy of E3 and Cracker.
Bulla, how's it going? I'm D, your host on the System After Dark, right here on Today FM. Today's hit music. You can catch me weeknights at 7 p.m. That's from Monday to Friday, only on the home of Today's hit music. And don't forget, that's D with you every weeknight on the System After Dark.
In tonight's bulletin, Indian Prime Minister excited about his upcoming visit to Fiji. Revival of task force to address violence against women. And hundreds gather for Remembrance Day. Good evening, welcome to FBC News. I'm Amrita Priyadarshini. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi says he is excited about visiting Fiji. The historical one-day visit next Wednesday will see a number of memorandums of understanding signed between the two countries. Shireen Lata has more.
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Fiji is an opportunity to re-establish contacts with the new government in Fiji. His visit will have three components: his meeting with the Prime Minister and address to a joint session of Parliament, meeting with Pacific leaders and the local Fiji community. The Asian News International reports Modi is grateful to the leaders for coming to Fiji at short notice. Modi will attend a first ever meeting with Pacific Island leaders, including Kiribati, Nauru, Palau, Papua New Guinea, Marshall Islands, Samoa, Solomon Islands, Tonga, Tuvalu and Vanuatu. He adds India can build stronger economic cooperation and closer partnership in international and multilateral forums with their friends in Pacific Island. For the Indian Prime Minister, it's a privilege to visit Fiji soon after the return of democracy in September 2014. Modi adds India owes Fiji a debt of gratitude for hosting their scientists on the island in support of their Mars mission. The last time Fiji hosted an Indian leader was 33 years ago. Shireen Lata, FBC News.
An investigation is underway following the discovery of a partly decomposed body in Singa. A farmer found the body of a female as he was on his way to Nasama village last night. It was lying in bushes in Waiwai. Officers from the police forensic unit are at the scene. Now, the Public Accounts Committee sits for the first time tomorrow after the September general election. The committee is tasked to scrutinize state accounts of 22 ministries. The committee is chaired by opposition member Professor Biman Prasad, and it will scrutinize Auditor General's reports from 2007 to 2013. According to parliamentary standing orders, the PAC or any other standing committee performs its functions subject to Section 74 of the Constitution and any other written law governing Parliament. The task force on eliminating violence against women is expected to be revived. The task force was established in 2000 and has been inactive for some time. Savara Tambor reports.
The Fiji Women's Crisis Center and the Minister for Women have discussed the need to review the task force. FWCC coordinator Shamima Ali believes this will be a way of addressing the issue of violence against women as NGOs and the government will be working together.
Hopefully it will be revived and it will stay there because it's a very useful way in which instead of governments and NGOs and CSOs looking at each other, from opposite poles, so to speak, they can come together. We'll still have our differences, and it's something we talked about. We'll still have differences. We are an advocacy group. We'll continue to encourage, but we'll also continue to criticize things that are going wrong and if nothing is done about it.
Services provided for survivors of violence is another issue that needs to be strengthened.
Police, the social welfare, the judiciary, and all the other service providers, and where the problem areas are, what's working, what is not working, and so that we can all work together on that. And because she has the reach up to cabinet and to be able to meet with various people far more easily than NGOs do have, we're hoping that she is quite willing to take those things forward.
The Fiji Women's Crisis Center is preparing documentation around what's working well and what's not. Minister for Women Rosie Akbar is pleased with the meeting, saying that women's NGOs have a role in society and so does the National Women's Machinery. Sawera Tambua, FBC News.
Government ministers' dignitaries attended a dawn service at the military cemetery in Suva to pay tribute to soldiers who lost their lives during World War I and World War II. This year marked the 96th anniversary of the end of World War I. Rashika Kumar with the details.
The haunting sounds of the last post rang through the military cemetery in the early hours of this morning as invited guests gathered to pay tribute to fallen soldiers. The last post is a military tradition that is a final farewell and symbolizes the duty of the dead is over and they can rest in peace. Among the invited guests were government ministers and members of the diplomatic corps. At 11 a.m. on 11th November 1980, a decision to stop the war between allies consisting of the United Kingdom, France and the Russia Empire and the Central Powers of Germany and Austria-Hungary were made. In Fiji, a force was formed that left for Britain on January 1, 1915. Most of these enlisted in Britain with the King's Royal Rifles after preliminary training in Britain. The Fiji platoon was sent into action. 43-strong Fiji platoon, 9 lost their lives and 31 were wounded in battle during the First World War. The Second World War began in September 1941 and the Empire of Japan's attack on Pearl Harbor in December 1941 marked the beginning of the Pacific War. Fiji was selected as a training base for the Allies. Fijians gained a reputation of bravery in the Solomon Islands campaign and were described as death with velvet gloves. More than 9 million military officials and 7 million civilians lost their lives in the First World War, and over 60 million lives were lost during the World War II, making it the deadliest ever. Rashika Kumar, FBC News.
Meanwhile, members of the Defence Forces joined ex-servicemen and their families to also commemorate Remembrance Day today. For many, it is a very solemn occasion as they pay tribute to their fallen comrades, as well as remember those who have dedicated their lives to serving the country. Sakyusa Nevua reports.
The march is a significant part of Remembrance Day. Families join their brave loved ones to march through Suva. President of the Fiji Returned Soldiers and Ex-Servicemen Association, Ratupeni Bolabola, says today, November 11th, is a very significant day for everyone, especially the young people.
They ought to know what the history of this land is like. I mean, they ought to know what their forefathers did, their grandfathers, their great-grandfathers did years ago, the sacrifices that they made. They paid the ultimate price, most of them did, and they lived under treacherous conditions, very, very difficult conditions, for the sake of peace.
Remembrance Day marks the anniversary of the armistice which ended the First World War. On the 11th hour, on the 11th day of the 11th month, a minute's silence is observed and dedicated to those soldiers who died fighting to protect the nation.
I think the best way to remember this is to inculcate this particular history of Fiji in the curriculum of the Ministry of Education, so that our younger people, they learn of the history of other countries. But I doubt very much whether they know something about their own history, the history of their parents, their forefathers, their grandfathers, their fathers. I think it's about time that the schools should take ownership of this thing and inculcate this in the program of their school curriculum.
Soldiers that fought in the war in Malaya and Solomons also brave the heat today.
Sacrificing of life. Without life, the sacrifice of life, we will never be living in a peaceful world like we are today. So back in 1914, right up to this day, 2014, is the 100th anniversary of the sacrificing of life. That's why we gather today to remember those who have given up their life for the cause of freedom.
Those who gave up their lives to bring peace and harmony to this world, they did a great job for us to be here today, and honored to see people all living peacefully here in the world.
Today is one of the most solemn and emotional days of the year as Fiji joins countries around the world to remember the fallen soldiers. Sekyu Sanevua, FBC News.
And coming up after the break, participants discuss impact and managing the risk disasters on businesses.
मेरा चांद मुझे आया है नजर, ऐ रात जरा थम थम के गुजर। छाया है नशा मेरे आंखों पर, ऐ रात जरा थम थम के गुजर। रह जाए ना प्यासा मेरा प्यार, मेरे बाहों में भर दे मेरा यार, ऐ रात जरा थम थम के गुजर, ऐ रात जरा थम थम के गुजर। हाय मिर्ची एफएम पर मैं हूं जितेन शांडिल। शामिल हो जाएगा हमारे साथ टुनाइट शो में मंडे टू फ्राइडे फ्रॉम 7 PM to 12 AM। मिर्ची एफएम इट्स ऑल बट यू नेवर गोना गेट इट, तेरे हाथ कभी ना आनी।
Welcome back to FBC News. The Fiji Revenue and Customs Authority is investigating a company for allegedly illegally importing DVDs and selling it to DVD outlets at a much cheaper price. Chief Executive Officer Chitoko Tikolevu says the current fiscal duty on a blank DVD is $2. Importers have to pay 10% excise duty and 15% VAT on the total imports. These duties and taxes are evaded through illegal imports. Customers have been advised to ask receipts and invoices upon purchase of blank DVDs and CDs. Tikolevu adds those businesses not providing receipts or invoices are breaching custom laws and they will be taken to task. Now, man-made and natural disasters cause havoc to people's lives and businesses. How such occurrences affect businesses and how they can be managed is the subject of a management risk workshop at the Grand Pacific Hotel in Suva. Watisoni Rekonroka reports.
We've got tornado, hailstorm, lightning.
About 100 participants from the government and private sector are attending the workshop in Suva.
Next slide.
For either natural disaster or man-made disaster and the incredible impact it could have on Fiji. And more importantly, making us think a little bit about what we do to help recover our businesses and protect our families and indeed our workers in the event of such an event occurring.
Bassett adds they are looking at various disasters across the world, including Fiji. He says discussions will also focus on how to manage disasters.
What we can do to practically manage a disaster, and essentially the theme will be looking to identify what the disasters could be, looking at our speed of response, also reviewing our supply chain to see where we're getting our goods from, reliance on ports, airports, etc.
As Fiji is prone to natural disasters like cyclone and flooding, and as we are in the cyclone season, the workshop is timely. It will enable participants to put into practice lessons from the workshop. Watisoni Rekonroka, FBC News.
A 32-year-old man is in police custody following the death of a 75-year-old man last night, the latest road fatality. The incident occurred on the Queen's Road near the Navo Bridge in Nandi. It is alleged the vehicle hit the victim as he ran across the road. The man died on the spot. The driver remains in custody while the vehicle is examined as the investigation continues. A post-mortem is expected to be conducted tomorrow. The Korean government and private sectors continue to strengthen its ties with Fiji by working on some projects here. These include strengthening military ties and deep-sea mining. Watisoni Rekonroka reports.
These new weapons bought by the Fiji military forces from Korea are part of ongoing strengthening of relations between the two countries in various fields. Fiji's ambassador to Korea, Philemon Ikau, is looking to further work in the area of defense.
Now there is some discussions happening in terms of some defense and ministry peacekeeping cooperation with the Ministry of Defense in Korea.
Another area covers deep-sea mining.
We're also looking at some programs in fisheries, deep-sea exploration. We have a Korean company, Kiosk, which is undertaking deep-sea exploration here.
Cooperation through sports is also on the discussion table.
We are also looking at possibilities of sporting cooperation. We have consulted with the Minister for Sports and he's very interested in pursuing some sports academy development with the Korean authorities.
Fiji and Korea established official diplomatic relations in January 1971. Since then, Korea has been active in the provision of technical and other assistance. What is Oni Rekanroka, FBC News.
Despite residents facing water problems, assistance in some parts of Raki has halted. Residents of Rarapatu say they have not received water since Diwali. The Raki town special administrator has confirmed that some areas face water shortages. Rashika Kumar has the details.
Residents in some parts of Raki are still feeling the impact of the dry season despite a brief spell of rain.
It had been rain in Raki, but not that enough so we can get the water from well or the borehole, because well water is getting day by day down, and the borehole is still getting down, and some boreholes had been already dry.
Rarapatu is home to about 200 people, and some of them have to walk about 300 meters to the nearest water source to get their daily supply of water. The National Disaster Management Office carted water to residents prior to the recent spell of rain.
What sort of work did the office do specifically?
Just to supply water, relief water to affected communities.
And has it continued?
No, from last week we have stopped.
DISMEC office says their office will provide water if there is a demand. Residents in the meantime are hoping for more rain now that we are into the second week of the rainy season. Rashika Kumar, FBC News.
Pilling Road congregation members in Nasinu have held their final fundraiser to begin construction of the Temple Methodist Church. Their previous church was dismantled and the congregation evicted when the land it was on was sold. Watisoni Rekanroka with the details.
About 100 people gathered at Pilling Road in Nasinu, Suva, last week to donate money for the new church.
We actually held our annual fundraising that's normally arranged for annually every October, every end of October. Basically, as we gear up towards trying to build a church.
But this is no ordinary church. It's a test of faith that began years ago after the congregation was evicted.
In 2005, the land was actually purchased by the owner of that block of land, and all the houses, the squatters, our families, and and the church itself was actually dismantled.
Undeflected, the congregation has worked tirelessly to secure a place of worship, purchasing land worth $45,000.
The plan is basically to start rebuilding or to start building our new church come October, November next year.
Soon, this community's dream will become a reality with the church construction expected to be completed next year. And it's one that members have fully supported with just over $36,000 collected. What is Oni Rekanroka, FBC News.
And Jamie joins you now with sports.
Good evening. Coming up, flying Fijians and Wales both out to improve from last week's outing ahead of their clash this Sunday. And Roy Krishna continues to impress in the A-League. This and more after the break.
गुलाब तो कांटों में ही खिला करते हैं, दिए तो आंधी में भी चला करते हैं। खुशनसीब बहुत होती है वो शाम, दोस्त आप जैसे जिंदगी में जन्मिला करते हैं। हेलो हाय नमस्ते बुला पीजी, मैं हूँ आपकी मस्तानी शाम होस्ट जोसलिन नारायण। मस्त मगन गाने, ताज़ा खबरें और बहुत कुछ हर शाम 4 से रात 7 बजे तक राइट किया ऑन रेडियो PG2।
Welcome back to FBC Sports. The Vodafone Flying Fijians have started training in Wales ahead of their one-off test against the hosts on Sunday. Beaten 40-15 by France, coach John McKee says they'll work on areas of concern before taking on the Wales to avoid a repeat of last weekend. Meanwhile, Wales say they will need to improve from its game against Australia to beat Fiji.
There's a big tick and a lot of things to continue to work on, and knowing that the way that we've prepared, that we're feeling confident that we will get better as this campaign goes on. And next week's going to be a really tough week, and we have to back ourselves that we're going to be underdone a little bit on the rugby against Fiji, but we've got to be good enough with this squad and hopefully the depth in the squad and making a few changes to be able to beat Fiji.
Fiji plays Wales at 3:30 a.m. on Sunday. Fijian Semesa Rokondunguni continues to be praised for his loyalty to the British Army in the England rugby team. Rokondunguni, who made his debut for England in the 24-21 loss to New Zealand over the weekend, is currently the only serving soldier who is part of the team.
I was very pleased to see that one of them, this last weekend, serving Lance Corporal, who served in Afghanistan, was playing for England on the wing and did pretty well, actually, Semesa Rokondunguni. So well done to that young man. He's still a serving soldier.
Rokondunguni has been again named in the England squad, which will play South Africa on Sunday. The TFL Fijiana Sevens will be using the Bailey's Coral Coast Sevens this week as a build-up to the IRB World Series. However, they also want to successfully defend the title in order to lay a solid platform for the World Meet. Rohit Deo has more.
The Fijiana team is all geared up for this week's tournament in the Singa. The side has been in camp for more than 2 weeks now and has been sweating it out to ensure it nails the title this year.
We're taking it seriously. We want to go in and win it again, and we're going in to defend our title. We are aware that the Australian team is coming, the Australian Pearls. Last year they had 3 teams with their 2 shadow teams in, but we made it last year and we're hoping to make it again this year.
The team is also keeping in mind the Dubai Sevens as they want to have a good start to their maiden tournament on the IRB series. The team to Dubai will be named after the Coral Coast Sevens.
We want to have a good performance in Dubai because it'll really tell us where we are, and then we can work towards the rest of the legs for the 2014-15 series. Preparation for Dubai is good. It's coming together. We will select the travelling 12 from the Coral Coast Sevens.
It is definitely a good chance for the girls to showcase their Fijian flair to the home fans, as they have a lot of travelling to do after this. Whether the team defends its title or will they be left disappointed in front of their home fans will be known on Saturday afternoon when the dust settles. Rohit Deo, FBC Sports.
And remember, you can watch the Bailey's Coral Coast Sevens live on FBC TV on Friday from 6:30 p.m. and from 10 a.m. on Saturday. Team Fiji wants to win more gold medals at the 2015 Pacific Games. However, apart from formulating a plan to achieve this while it's in its final stages of preparations, team officials also have their team budgets to think about. Josephine Navula has the details.
With only a few months left for the upcoming Pacific Games, Team Fiji has its sights in raking in more medals than ever.
We have a challenge that's called our 35-25-1 challenge. We want to take 35 officials and athletes, 25 athletes, 10 officials, win 18 gold medals, and finish #1 again in the Pacific.
Our target is for 2 gold medals next year.
However, this isn't easy as the officials are also facing challenges which they hope to overcome sooner than later.
For me, a challenge is a challenge. The strength of the team is what we can do to overcome that. So when my team asked me, do we have any money? I said, yes, we have plenty of money. It's out there. Go out there and ask for it. Unless you ask for it, you won't get it. So that's one. Our second challenge is usually our facilities that we have for our athletes that have to train in.
Meanwhile, the Assistant Minister for Youth and Sports, Ilya Sandelana, launched Team Fiji's lottery at the Fessenok boardroom last night.
The Executive Board has conducted itself to launch this fundraising drive. Through your efforts and the support of the country, Fiji will be truly represented in next year's games and all other future games to come.
The 2015 Pacific Games will be held on the 4th to the 18th of July in Papua New Guinea. Josephine Navula, FBC Sports.
Fijian football international Roy Krishna is being hailed as a great impact player by his Wellington Phoenix side. This after the Lambasa man set up the winning goal for Phoenix against Western Sydney Wanderers in the A-League over the weekend. Phoenix coach Ernie Merrick says the likes of Krishna and other bench players play a key role for the team to ensure they net maximum points each week. The Phoenix play Adelaide United on Saturday. That's your sports for tonight. It's back to Rita with business.
Prime Minister Varenge Bainimarama will launch the Momi Bay Resort redevelopment at Momi in Nandi on Thursday. The resort is owned by the Fiji National Provident Fund FNPF. The government took sole ownership in 2010 following the collapse of New Zealand-based Bridgecorp in 2007. In 2012, the Prime Minister announced the $150 million FNPF investment to complete Stage 1 of the project. In April this year, Marriott International signed an agreement with the FNPF to manage the 250-room Fiji Marriott Resort. And the resort is scheduled to open in 2016. Mainly fine weather prevailed over the country today. A trough of low pressure still lies slow moving over Tuvalu and extends southeastwards just south of Samoa and over Niue. Meanwhile, another trough is affecting Solomons. Temperatures range from 28 to 32 degrees today. Suva recorded 28, followed by Lautoka at 29, and Lambasa topped with 32 degrees. For tomorrow's weather, it should be fine apart from isolated brief showers. Moderate westerly winds fresh at times, winds becoming predominantly southwest from tonight. And for Thursday's outlook, fine apart from isolated brief showers. Now recapping our top stories, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi says he is excited about visiting Fiji. The first sitting of the Public Accounts Committee will take place tomorrow, and an investigation is underway following the discovery of a partly decomposed body in Singa. On to our poll question. Are you satisfied with the education reforms announced recently? You can visit our FBC website to take part. Remember, you can send us newsworthy pictures and videos on email citizenseyes@fbc.com.fj. Share it with us via our Facebook page, FBC News, or if you're on Twitter, follow and tweet us your news tips at FBC News or hashtag FBC News. That's our bulletin for today. Join me again tomorrow. Until then, good night.
Bula FM nambando na serena iwan siningaw na dibatara ni sibiti ko bekian na diwa en na tini na miniti na may pakuriti ore bengrabe na nontan nonongo kanda na dabati ko anin rona kaloko en ay kabenden de bobi na tay wali ni may dabati ko na wani matakabo kan leb sarati ko na bi ser tali oni na namaka do batati may kina na kenan daw robo di kanamaki Bula binaka ayo salamilawa do bataki yawa na batara na wani vio na kaloko moni tiki na barumbuka en Bula FM nambandua en serena